freewheeling cavalcade of circular motion, thus defined by the octagon table of double-wide mental introspection and dedicated utilitarian outward thinking in defense of zero content. Translation: we ain't got nothing. Oh, hey folks, dude here. Coming in yet again, an iteration of Dude After Dark. Excuse the not being here last week, but I had to deal with, well, stuff. Sound guy. No, it wasn't like that, okay? It was just simply dealing with sound guy. No, it's not caca. And considering that Joe Caca is going the way of the dodo, yeah, I'm thinking that, well,
I've fallen and I can't get up.
Yeah. I've fallen, I can't get up. Splat. All right. Anyway, so way, shape, and form, you guys are here. Hopefully, good out there. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight. I had a video in queue there. That's why it started talking. Let me get over here and I can see my spew. I do have quite a bit of spew because I'm now saving up from a week previous to week current. And last week, I was about not fully dead, but at least half in the crock, man. I truly overwhelmed myself with way, shape, and form. Entirely too much stuff going on. I believe it was, let's see, 2 weeks ago. I believe it was the Ocean City gig. Hang on one second here. I really kind of ran myself ragged on that one. Hang on one second here. Let me figure out what I was doing. Let's see. Yeah, last week was coming back from Ocean City, and strangely enough, the second, not quite third job I do, but one of the other side gigs I do. If you guys don't know, I'm actually the band tech for a local band. I mean, literally, we go out to various venues, set up. They do the concert, as it were. Usually, it's club situations. Sometimes other venues. This weekend was, strangely enough, was actually a casino. So one of the local casinos, they are trying to come back off of of all things. They're trying to come back from COVID, believe it or not, as far off as that thing is. But what happened was they actually used to have live performances, and it was a big deal. They had a lot of good crowds, and then of course COVID happened, and then obviously that went by the wayside. So that orange like snorting behind me. Anyway, so way, shape, and form, which we found ourselves, we were doing the show in the casino, which was kind of a little strange. There was some familiar strangers. I knew some of the attendees. Obviously, the guy that's part of the management team that manages the band that I work with, he was there. I believe his girlfriend or wife. I don't know which. Also, humorously enough, I'm not going to show the girl's information, but there was a female standing by there who was kind of bebopping and carrying on and hanging out. And I was like, okay, let me find out what her deal is. So I go walking up and I'm like, hey, how you doing? And she's like, oh, you the manager of the band, which is the standard line. Almost everybody always says that. Are you the manager for the band? It's like, I'm not the manager. Okay. At best, I'm another member of the band. I'm an employee. I'm the band tech. So essentially, for all intents and purposes, band tech is essentially just fancy name for saying roadie. So set up, tear down, problem solving, drink fetcher, in between those guys on the stage and the clamoring public, as it were. So when people come over and they're like, "Hey, can you tell that it's Binky's birthday?" Or Shlomo and Edwina got married. Could you pass that along to give the shout outs? And usually that's the case. I'll then take my phone, which is a note, and I actually do rock the note for a good reason. And then I take the note and I'm writing on here, Edwina and Shlomo, blah 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 blah, and I'll show it to the guys in the band, and they'll look at it and go, "Oh, okay." Usually the lead singer, he's not the band leader, but the lead singer, he'll look over. I'll flash him the, hey, this is the what's what, and he'll look over and yeah, okay, got it. Or give me a quick thumbs up. Kind of behind the scenes stuff. Most people don't catch that because it's you do the gigs, you get to know all the little behind the scenes type of stuff, and all the subtle things that most of the time they don't catch it at all in the performances. If somebody drops a note, or if the drummer loses a stick and he's like, oh crap, and he's like grabbing front of the stick out the stick bag, and misses like a couple beats or gets back into it after slipping up or something. Most people never ever notice that type of stuff. But if you're around these guys all the time and you know the way that the music is supposed to be done, I usually tell people when I'm doing a gig, I'm listening for the stuff that's wrong rather than the stuff that's right. So when something's glitching up, I know to leap into the fray, fix the problem. And case in point, one of the previous drummers, we were doing a gig, and I'm standing off to the side, and he's playing, and he's like looking at me, he's like waving a stick. I'm like, yeah, 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 and he's like waving a stick, like, dude, no, no, like I'm trying to get my attention. I'm like, what? And he's like taking the stick and like pointing down, and one of the cymbals had like fallen off the stage area called a riser. Literally, what that is like a small stage on top of the stage that then put a performer on top of to make them stand out from the rest of the band area. So it's called a riser. So on the riser was fairly small, and literally the stand that the cymbal was on had literally just walked off and fallen over. So I was like, oh no, so I run over there real fast, stuck it back there so he could play on it when he needed to, and then literally taped it down to the floor so it wouldn't walk off again. It's stuff you kind of get a feel for, after a while, when things aren't right. And it was pretty funny because he was just kind of like waving the stick at me. I'm like, yeah, yeah, you sounded good. You sounded good. And he's like, no, 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 no. Like that's the problem. At the same time, he's playing. So it's kind of really subtle unless you're really looking for it. You didn't notice it, but he's kind of a really dynamic drummer, so he's always doing something. So it was kind of really funny there. We caught up with him later on, laughed it off, but I was like, okay, I'll keep an eye on from here on. When something gets glitchy, you gave me the heads up, and I tried to catch it when you actually were like putting the neon sign on it and the Vegas style lights. I go, dude, no, that's the problem. So stuff like that happens, and it's kind of the fun things that we laugh about afterwards, but during the time, it's kind of a little annoying. So, it's stuff that we literally have to deal with at time of performance, and of course, problem solve and fix the issues. So that's just how those things go. So you just have to be cognizant of the fact and literally just watching for what's going on. And when something's really glitching up, you got to leap into the fray and fix the problem. Anyway, so let me scrolly. I know I got a lot of backlog here, so there's going to be a lot of news stories that are going to keep me fairly cheap and in terms of time span. But I'm going to try to make it so that I like touch on these things that literally I didn't have opportunity to touch on at the time in which it was happening. So I'm hopefully going to go back, in the proper timeline, touch on those items, at least bring them up, at least, like vent them out to you guys so you know what's going on here. So scrolly. Yes, I'm now back to where I needed to be. Now imagine, obviously you guys have probably heard about it or something, but what they're now referring to as hashtag cowardgate, hashtag tampon Tim, or the one that I've generated, hashtag tiny BALZ, tiny balls. So hashtag tiny balls, hashtag cowardgate, hashtag tampon Tim. And we're speaking on, of all things, Tim Waltz. Now, Tim Waltz, they keep going on about his military service, this, that, thing. He was a reservist, okay? It wasn't like he was a full-time soldier. And anybody that knows reserve duty, you could get called up at some time. They could drag you out, send you off to, East Elbowonia to fight the war that's taking place between the Elbowonians and, the Slomamarians. And you have to jump to the fray. You basically do your tour of service, which is typically 9 months to a year. And then you come back after doing a rotation. Now, the thing about it is he was claiming rank that he had not earned. Now, he was jumping out, of course, denying the fact that all those guys were going to be under him. We're now going to be screwed for the amount of manpower, which he's ducking out on. And literally, he screwed a battalion, so like 500 guys. So he was the command sergeant major. Wannabe. He was not. He was the master sergeant, which is an E8. He was not the command sergeant major or the CSM. And you can tell that one because when you look at the rockers and you look at the stripes, okay, obviously 3 stripes up, that's sergeant. 3 rockers underneath is master sergeant, which would be an E8 in the Army. Now, he was saying when he was rolling out that he was a command sergeant major. Well, slight problem. They actually had to correct that. The DNC was like, oh, snap, he wasn't an E9, he was an E8. Oopsie. They don't really know the military ranking structure from anything, but E9 is the top, literally the top of the enlisted ranks. And when you achieve that rank, you're almost borderline like officer, like, high rank, because you put the time in, the way that things need to be done. You are literally running an entire battalion at this point as the command sergeant major. You have, of course, the gunny sergeants and first sergeants, and all those guys are steps onto you. They're doing their things, going steps on down to actually, sergeants, corporals, to finally the buck privates and PFCs and corporals and all those guys. Anyway, so E9 is literally the top rung of the enlisted officers in the battalion. So could be said that you're basically the guy who has all the time in, and you're not you're not an commissioned officer, but you're an enlisted officer. So you got a lot of time and effort in. You should know how things work. Well, if you're a duplicitous freaking really want to say more things about him than that, but if you're a duplicitous person who is doing valor thief type of stuff, you really piss off those guys who are CSMs when you are not a CSM. Let's give me a second here. I got fresh Tiggy juice, literally out the pot. Hot stuff. Hitting and sticking like mama's fried chicken. Anyway, so way shape before he tried to claim he was an E9 when he was actually E8, and the DNC actually did a correction because he lied about his rank. Now, I find it also humorous anytime these guys try to play these things, they always shoot for the stars in terms of, I'm an XYZ, shuttle gun door gunner, space shuttle door gunner. They always shoot for the moon and say that they're high ranking guys and all the rest of that stuff. And, I've always had people like, well, what rank were you, dude? It's like, I wasn't jack squat, okay? There was many people way above me. I literally was a wrench turner. I was a nabob in the Marine Corps, okay? There's way better men than me. And I will never claim credit for being anything other than basically somebody put their feet on the yellow footsteps, basically did the deed. And that's all I'm going to claim, okay? I don't really put, much, great umbrage upon the fact that, well, I was this, that, and the other thing. No, that wasn't me, okay? I was pretty much Joe Average, wrenching stuff, working on things, and that's it, okay? I was nothing special. These guys who get the, the high-ranking enlisted structure and put the 20, 30, some odd years in, those are the guys who really deserve the stuff. So when you put in, like, I think he put in 28 or 29 years in the Army and ducked out, like, just before they deployed over to Iraq, that's kind of duplicitous. I mean, you're basically saying, oh, nope, I got my contract up. I'm out. Yeah, so basically he left all those guys hanging. That's how that one worked on that one. And, of course, he claimed rank structure, which he was not applicable to, and he lied. Case in point, he lied about his rank. Scrolly. There's a video out, and I got to post up on my Facebook page. It's posted up on August 16, but I cannot do this justice. But Kamala is like talking, and she is like gesticulating like she's performing like an oral act on somebody, which really, somebody took that video, they slowed it down, and they showed her maneuvers, showing her that, well, she has that motion built in, and really, probably that was not the best optics in which to put out there, because somebody was going to take that video and then slow it down and show you performing potentially almost like an adult act in mid almost like an adult act while speaking to somebody publicly. I cannot do it justice, folks. That video is blanking hilarious. I found it, stuck it on my page. I could not stop laughing constantly. It was so blanking funny. I just got to say, she still got the moves. From Willie Brown, she still got the moves. Yipes. Coming to Daily Wire, Joe Biden was gruffly instructing reporters on Wednesday, this is August 16, to, quote, start writing, end quote, that his economic policies have been succeeding, a demand that drew some blowback from social media. Quote, yes. I told you we're going to have a soft landing, Biden replied. We're going to have a soft landing. My policies are working. Start writing that way, okay? Biden asked about inflation. Biden said, I told you we're going to have a soft landing. My policies are working. Start writing that way. And that was posted up on C-SPAN August 14. So apparently Joe Kaka's having some issues with people being maybe a little bit truthful about stuff is not quite so good as you thought it was going to be by stating the fact that it wasn't so good and trying to hide it from everybody. Yeah. This one's kind of cool and a gun rights type of thing. Even Canadians, as well squishy as they can be sometimes in terms of personal liberties, even those guys are, this is from Amaland.com, even those guys are calling on reservists to help ground with door-to-door voluntary handoffs on firearms, but even the lefty Canadians will not enforce a gun grab in their various provinces. They're basically telling Trudeau to stick it. That's never a bad thing. This one I think is really kind of one of those interesting things. This one coming out, basically have those situations where I tend to think sometimes the cops take some liberties on the case of they have the qualified immunity, and they tend to do stuff that is way too socially aggressive, and they know that they're not going to get called on it between the FOP with all their bottomless resources in terms of legal representation and the qualified immunity. These guys sometimes just get away with stuff they never ever should, and nobody is Joe average potential free citizen would ever get away with. So anyway, way, shape, or form, in 2000, the Supreme Court ruled an anonymous tip about the carry of a firearm was not a sufficient probable cause to search a person for weapons. And in a Pennsylvania case in 2014, a Supreme Court of Pennsylvania found that a mere carry of a firearm concealed, briefly seen as not valid grounds for detention or search. Also, in a court of appeals in the 8th Circuit in 2016, the court found that the open carry of a firearm was not enough to create a reasonable suspicion of a crime. Now, lastly, in Florida, a case in 2020, the Court of Appeals in the 1st District of Florida found the mere sight of a pistol was not a sufficient probable cause for detention and search. Now, why do I talk about this? Well, because a cop basically pounced on a guy who was doing a CCW carry, screwed a guy over, stuffed him in the car, completely abridging of his personal liberties, his personal rights, and his ability to have free travel while remaining unaccosted from the constabulary. Well, it's not working out for this cop, and he might potentially get more than a little bit of sound guy. How would you say it's going to hit him? Well, nicely. No, it's not going to hit him with a ding. What are you talking about? No, it's going to hit him more like. Okay, now you're really pushing it. Okay, so if this cop abridges his personal liberties and he doesn't have the qualified immunity, what is going to happen to him?
You're in the jailhouse now.
A little bit of 80s scratch, deliverance, yeah, kind of cute. Okay, I'll allow the ding, but that was a little sketchy. Anyway, so scrolly. So apparently, dudes, qualified immunity is not going to have happen, and sorry. Scrolly. This one I find to be very, very interesting. Coming in from Rasmussen Reports, controversy over so-called DEI, or diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, has intruded on this year's presidential campaign, with some critics accusing Vice President Kamala Harris of being a true DEI hire. So the latest Rasmussen Reports, national telephone and online survey finds that 41% of likely U.S. voters believe it's fair to call Harris a DEI hire, while 45% don't think it's a fair accusation, and 50% are just not sure. sounds like your standard phone call when they go, "Hey, how do you feel about the so-and-so?" And somebody just goes, ding, thank you for your answer. Click. You get those telephone poll things going on. Excuse me one second here. So critics argue while it reduces Harris's accomplishments to her race and gender, implying she was chosen not for her qualifications, but to check off boxes on the diversity list. Yet the fact that 41% of voters agreed as the characterization shows it's an idea with some traction, whether you like it or not. Yeah, I mean, interesting. Now there's this post going around, and it's very, very interesting because now I've actually posted up that there's been a couple people who have actually done the same exact post, word for word. So you see this kind of generic looking 30-something chick, kind of basically cute, not like outstanding, but basically cute. The teeth are a little too white. I'm thinking like basically like actress without too much makeup on, or soft focus so she doesn't look too good. So you look at her and she's wearing a Harris Waltz 2024 t-shirt, wearing like, basically like pull-on shorts. Obviously she's kind of, chunky upstairs, so she's, distracting with that regard, but she's wearing a t-shirt and she's in this post and she's kind of doing the thumbs up thing. She's looking kind of like, almost kitschy, like it's not really like I'm really acting here, but the pose and everything looks like it's been posed out professionally. So she's wearing a t-shirt and it says, I wore my shirt out to public for the first time today, got a lot of thumbs up, and several people stopped to say good job. One exchange went like this. Lady, wow, you're wearing this out and proud, huh? Me, yup. Lady, I'm too afraid. Me, I'm done being afraid. Lady, then I am too. Inspire, period. Be brave, friends. Now, there's another picture where you can see another chick who's looking kind of frumpy. She's got like, ink on her arms, and she's wearing a Kamala t-shirt that looks like it's kind of playing on like the Tide thing with the Kamala at like an angle. And it says, remove stubborn orange stains on a green OD green t-shirt. And she's holding her phone up like she's taking her picture in a like basically like a mirror shot, like a selfie kind of a thing. I got to tell you, folks, the picture that they have posted here almost looks like they used the same house for both these two females to be in the same place. Now, the first one is Florida Seniors for Kamala. The second one is Florida Seniors for Kamala. And it says exact same script. Wore my shirt out in public for the first time today. Got a lot of thumbs up. Several people stopped to say good job. One exchange went like this. She's in the house taking her picture in literally what looks like a standard house, white background. The other chick is standing in front of like a stairwell, kind of standard banister, like dark wood stain, white background. If you change the settings, and that's the other thing too, is also when you look at these two pictures, one picture has more saturation on it, the other picture is more detuned, but it really looks like they pretty much shot the picture in roughly the same household and kind of switched the Kelvin up a little bit to make one look a little more grayscale, one look a little more whiter, and the saturation on one is different than the other. One's a little dirtier than the other. In other words, one's just not as good a picture. And it looks like literally they shot the pictures in pretty much the same house type of setup. And the script is exactly the same. So one chick is Marina Caitlin, it looks like, and the other one is Diva Manasar or Manasker or something like that. Kind of hard to tell. But these pictures are literally word for word exactly the same script. So I tend to think that this is a gaslighting operation and the bots are working up the fake posts and it's CGI fake crowds and she's complete Bravo Sierra posting this stuff up. Scrolly. Let's see. This one I found to be extremely interesting. Supposedly, Mr. Tim Ball's, Coward Gate gets even worse from the Washington Examiner. The Islamic Association of North America, the recipient of state grants from 2019 to 2024, is fundraising after Hamas' October 7th attack on Israel last year. Is OWww, a Michigan-based charity that says it's shipping humanitarian aid to Gaza, according to Flyers. In a since-deleted Facebook post in October 2023, OWww president Shayna Zaza revealed that his charity was collaborating on an aid initiative with the Islamic Heritage Revival Society of Kuwait, a terrorist group sanctioned by the U.S. government for funding of Al-Qaeda. Now, the thing about it is Waltz is accused of sending millions in grants to the Al-Qaeda-linked organizations. Yeah. Why would he be supporting these things? Interesting. Excuse me 1 second here. Now, if you guys saw one of the performances that Kamala did, she seemed to be gassed. And I do mean like, okay, this is that and the other thing. Like she was hammered and on stage trying to do her thing. Well, there's now a story floating around from truthpress.com, And it says Trump campaign posts about Kamala Harris and says that she has a serious drinking problem in the rumors. Another drunken Democrat. Ted Kennedy, you might be surpassed, dude. Scrolly. Hang on 1 second here. Coming up from Mr. Tampon Tim, Cowardgate, Tiny Balls. Supposedly, he says, reproductive rights and all the rest of this stuff. Oh, we had IVF, so in vitro fertilization. That's not the case. He actually had a different form of what they did to knock the wife up in his regard. What they did was they basically took a sample of the baby juice from him and they basically made it more concentrated and then applied it directly to her various areas that needed to be, propagated. And that was a process that they used. So it was not IVF, which one of my friends has actually done, has both of his kids in that matter. Basically, his wife was a cancer patient, so they got a couple of embryos, fertilized them, stuck them in the freezer. Then when she was all healed up, gave her them, carried her to term, 2 kids, they're done with it. But with the process that they used was IUI. So he said that they were basically IVF. Well, that's not the case at all. They use intrauterine insemination, or IUI. So then he had to basically go, oh, no, okay, I used the wrong term. Everybody knows IVF and not IUI. Dude, why didn't you just simply say IUI and give a clarification? Everybody be like, oh, okay, that's what you did. You basically took the baby juice, you concentrated it, and you stuck it in her. That's all we needed to know. So for all intents and purposes, they had kids doing that, and that's all that really matters. So I do think this is very interesting. Another story coming in from Joe Kaka. He's getting his last licks in while he's still thinking, I think. But Biden criticizes Trump supporters, claims they, quote, can't think or can't read very well. Well, you got to understand that basically, we don't follow in lockstep with anybody. So if we find somebody that does something that we find in like kind, that's where we jump on board. And that was one of the other things, too, I found to be very interesting. Somebody basically was going on about, RFK Jr., he's basically sucking up now to Trump and everything. And it's like, did you see the response of that crowd? What they said essentially is, dude, you're saying the right things. That's why we are applauding you standing beside Trump now. You are saying food safety, making sure that things are not corrupt. This is all stuff that anybody on either side of the aisle can get on board. So that's why the Democrats right now are so threatened by having RFK Jr. jump on the stage with Trump and go, yeah, dude, I'm in. I think it's really kind of cool in that regard as well. Truthfully, I would kind of see RFK as way more of an independent than he ever was truly a Democrat. And probably he's more of a Green Party guy than he actually ever could be said to be like a striding Democrat. But he's got the same problem that his uncle did, is he's saying, look, I didn't leave the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party's left me. And a lot of the times that, RFK was doing stuff was later on. But when JFK was doing things, he'd be considered now a Republican. He was not the hard line leftist, borderline, not even slightly socialist mantra that they're chattering on in the DNC. JFK was not a socialist. Scrolly. This one I found to be very, very interesting. So supposedly now 25 states have gone to the Supreme Court over a critical 2024 election ruling. So if you're not a citizen, you shouldn't have the right to an election in the United States. This is coming in from Washington Examiner. Republican Attorney Generals Chris Kobach of Kansas and Patrick Morrissey of West Virginia followed an amicus brief joined by 22 states asking the Supreme Court to halt a lower court ruling that would force Arizona to allow people to register to vote without having to prove the U.S. citizenship. It's very simple. You should not be allowed to vote if you're not a United States citizen, and your proof of citizenship is vital in making sure we conduct free, safe, and lawful elections. That's it in a nutshell, folks. Scrolly. So supposedly Kamala does not want to have a debate with Trump. She rejects the Fox debate, so Donald Trump's to plan a town hall instead. Oh, man. Coming from Breitbart, Vice President Kamala Harris on Thursday refused to debate former President Trump on the third proposed matchup. The former president suggested Trump offered to debate Harris on September 4 on Fox News, September 10 on NBC News, and September 25th on ABC News. Harris also stated she will only allow Governor Tony Balls to attend one debate with Senator J.V. Vance, who proposed to meet with Waltz twice. Waltz is an admittedly terrible debater. Should be fun to watch in any case. Scrolly. I'm trying not to go too circular here with the whole like taxing tips thing because it's just getting stupid. Oh, okay. Really, this is kind of funny. The leftists turn out in high numbers to watch communists seek to make themselves the power base of the federal government. Yahoo News thinks Donald Trump cares if Democrats, while yank each other off while on TV. So Yahoo.com, quote, this is really going to stick in Donald Trump's craw. The Democratic convention outpaces RNC ratings. I really, truly don't think he cares. I think it's more a case of bragging rights at this point. It's really just antithetical to think that Trump's just going, oh, these numbers are better. Oh, I'm going to lose my mind. Oh, I think he's going to look at it and go, well, they got a better one on that one. I'm going to simply do better on this one. So this one I think is hilarious. So it's a little dated now, but Trump announces he would love endorsement from RFK Jr. and would consider hiring him. I tend to think RFK's got a guaranteed position right now in any Trump administration. It is going to be hilarious to see what kind of stones he overturns to make sure something pops out. I think it's going to be utterly epic. So this one gonna being interesting here, coming in from AmericanJournalDaily.com. So her polls are fake. Who didn't know that? So from AmericanJournalDaily.com, election polls exposed in a new scandal. So Kamala's lead is padded by oversampling. And the range that's showing her ahead of Trump is roughly reversing itself from the range that Trump had over Biden. And I tend to think it's kind of interesting. No matter how hard they're pushing, just bashing over everybody over the head about like she's the best thing since sliced bread, she doesn't pull any better than 1.5% or 2% better than Donald Trump. Well, if you know the margin of error of any poll, it's always 2%. Interesting. Very, very interesting, in fact. Scrolly. I find this so amazing that the way that the Democrats do this, and nobody ever really calls them on this stuff, but they always do this. So they blame others and say that you're not doing exactly what you charge the other guys with. Democrats are merely selling corrupt communism from the post-millennial. International Brotherhood of Teamsters President Sean O'Brien on Wednesday accused the DNC of snubbing him by not allowing him to speak at the convention in order to protect, quote-unquote, corporate elitists. Interesting. Quote, and there's relationship there at the DNC that maybe they don't want me to speak there because I would have talked to the same group, he continued. I would expose that same corporate elitists who attack us every single day. Okay, the only thing I got to say on that one is it is amazing to me how much that the unions suck up to the Democrats and think that they're, I don't know if I would say given a shield, but they are given like predisposed amounts of just charity. So they basically pay a lot of money to the DNC, and they think along the lines of, okay, we're paying protection money. We're going to get some protection. They're going to keep using General Motors vehicle for the federal government. Obviously, anything that's going to be something that's going to be top on down type of, technology that we're going to be getting a crack at. Obviously, if we think by making electric vehicles, we're going to get government mandated funds. Well, you can see now in the news, obviously, Ford is dropping EVs. GM is dropping EVs. Chrysler, well, Stellantis, I think in my heart of hearts, I think Stellantis is almost trying to kill the Dodge/Ram group off because when you take a 700 horsepower, drag racing hot rod and you give people a 500 and some odd horsepower electric thing with speakers that make engine noises in its place, I think you're going to piss off a lot of people because they're looking for something that actually goes vroom vroom versus buzz buzz. So I tend to think right now that Stellantis might be trying to kill the Dodge/Ram group off. I would hope in my heart of hearts that somebody is smart enough to buy that corporation up, fix it, and actually make it work again. Because Stellantis, while they're profitable over in Europe with some of their other bigger brands, they really don't give two craps about Dodge, Ram, Chrysler, call it what you will. I mean, like all their namesake stuff, they really don't even do anymore. Minivans, they don't make those anymore. Crappy sedans, they still make those. Hot rods, well, what are they doing in the place of basically a really high horsepower V8? They're giving us a 500 some odd horsepower electric car, and they're giving a straight six wannabe hot rod. Now, you know what? I don't have any problem with the number of cylinders in an engine. And trust me, I can tell you from my heart of hearts, I am very beholden to a straight six engine because they sound flipping awesome. And trust me, I had a Datsun Z. That thing sounded great on high revs and on power. It is an awesome power plant. I like the straight six. The straight six that they're sticking in the Dodges, though, they're being withheld. I mean, there's no reason in the world why they couldn't have a 2,000 horsepower engine in that car. I mean, there's 2,000 horsepower Supras. There's 2,000 horsepower BMWs. There's 2,000 horsepower Nissans. There's 2,000 horsepower turbo diesel Cummins. All those are straight six motors, and they're making scads of power. It's not the number of holes in the engine block. It's the actual way in which you do the execution of the engine. Just give me 1 second here. Let's see. Scrolly. This one I thought was kind of really interesting. I don't know if you saw the video or not, but supposedly, Obama, the dancing Manchurian candidate, was making a Johnson joke about, well, he's this, that, and the other thing. He's literally going on about, like a man part joke. So, the only thing I got to say on that one is, Obama makes a, pecker-sized joke while trashing Trump as childish. The only thing I got to say about that one is you're making jokes about that one. Are you projecting much there about your favorite thing there, Barry? That's the only thing I got to say about that one. This one I think is very, very interesting. They keep going on about like, oh, the ratings are so great for the DNC convention and all the rest of that stuff. Well, from Breitbart, I've noticed, and I've been reading now, and I'm seeing now, the Nielsen ratings, the DNC television ratings have crashed 22% from 2016. So the television ratings in the first night of Democrat National Convention, not nearly as good as what it used to be. Why? Because they're propping up people that are really not that good. But they're trying. They're trying. Ugh. Patron Fever in the room said there was a massive fire at an EV factory near him 2 days ago. Okay, well, you're messing around with lithium and cobalt and all these other not fun things. And dude, I hope you're just not down with that's some really toxic, nasty, icky stuff. That is not good things to be around. Well, EV batteries until they make them of like safer stuff. Lithium's some pretty hot rod, nasty stuff in terms of the elements, man. It's not. It doesn't play well. It really, really doesn't play well. It's reactive for a reason. Speaking of somebody who's having a little bit of yes, our favorite comedian Kathy Griffin says her life is an S-hit show now. So she's the one that basically was holding up the fake cut off head of Trump, and immediately even the guys in Hollywood are like, oh no, bye. And they literally duffed her. So they trashed anything to do with her, and she's been kind of sitting in idle. She got divorced from her husband. She's had cancer, and now she's trying to come back and say that she's noteworthy of being utilized in the public eye yet again because supposedly she's quote unquote funny. Well, look it up on her, wiki page. Obviously, they just, brown nose like you don't want to know to her. Especially she's won Emmys, Grammys, all the rest of those, fake awards that, they tot out and give to one another because they're so amazed by each other's performance of playing fake people. And that's really all you got to know about, like, any actors. They're not real people, okay? They're pretenders pretending to be other people, which means they're not really real people. They're just really, really good at pretending. And then they try to justify that by saying, "Oh yeah, because we know how to pretend. You should listen to us." But anyway, yeah, her life right now is an S hit show right now. I got to tell you, your shows were S hit shows. I'm not impressed. Um, this one being very, very interesting, coming in from Breitbart. And I don't want to get this one directly, so I'm going to actually open the link. Most of the ones I've been just reading, like, just quick hits off of Facebook and what I got. But supposedly coming from Breitbart.com. Kamalanomics hits the Silicon Valley. The tech titans are slashing jobs amid economic uncertainty. They know. Thor's hammer. They know. If those guys get into office and continue what they're doing, it doesn't matter how rich you are, how much money that you're going to be investing in, whatever. It's null and void because the economy is going to suck. And no matter what you do to try to prop it up by making your guys quote unquote look good, it's not going to fix the problem, because when it comes right down to it, if Joe Average isn't buying your whatevers or utilizing your services, you can put all the money into it in the world that you wish to. It's bad money after good money. You're not going to be fixing the problem. So going into it, Silicon Valley is experiencing another round of significant job cuts. Oh, the first thing that happens to save money in any corporation is they kill jobs. As major companies announce layoffs in response to economic pressure and shifting industry priorities. Decoding that, oh snap, we're going to get our asses handed to us because nobody's buying our stuff. The economy's crap right now, and the economy is as such that our stock is going, even though the numbers are up in the stock market, okay? Understand this. When the stock market's going up, it's because it's overvalued. It's being propped up by a bunch of guys going, "Oh, yeah, that was less, but now I'll sell it for more." And the next guy goes, "Oh, yeah, well, it's worth more, so I'll buy it." So these idiots keep running the price up, running the price up, running the price up, running the price up, until finally you have something that's so overvalued, say it's worth $50, but you bought it for $3,000, going, "Yeah, it's so much more value added." Well, when in reality, it's maybe worth 75. That's what's going on with the stock market right now. That's why you're having these corrections taking place. 2008 will come back again to bite them in the ass because they've overvalued it. The banks can't prop themselves up with this crap any longer. And oh yeah, this whole thing about high interest from the Fed is unsupportable. They're trying to steer the boat by yanking the dog tail around. Well, the dog is on top of the boat. The dog's not steering the boat. They're not fixing the problem. They're just making it worse and worse. Bay Area reports that the tech industry, long considered a bastion of job security and growth, is facing a new wave of uncertainty, and several major companies announced substantial layoffs. This trend is raising concerns about the overall health of the sector and its ability to maintain its workforce in the face of economic challenges. I'll tell you what the biggest economic challenge is right now to the tech guys: over investment into AI. Here's the thing. You have this new technology. Oh, it's amazing. It's AI. It thinks for itself. It's this, it's that, all the rest of it. How are we going to use it? We haven't figured that out yet, but it's going to be Thor's hammer. It's going to be amazing. Keep investing in it. Buy it. Never said anything. It's one of these just vaporware things. Nobody knows how to apply it, but they're so overinvested in it right now that unfortunately they're stuck with it. Case in point. They keep going on and on about that. Oh, they know that the XYZ has got all this AI on board. It's all this rest of this happy horse stuff. I'm not upgrading that to anything newer anytime soon. I'm going to run my currents, if maybe just a little bit newer, into the flipping ground. Why? Because I don't trust AI. And anytime somebody does something that's even slightly sketch, I want nothing to do with it. Case in point, I called up one of my financial providers. I forget if it was for my, like credit cards or my bank or a house loan or something along that. And they're like, "Hey, you want to basically a digital sample of your voice online?" I was like, "Oh hell no, not even in the slightest of my interesting. It's not even the slightest of my interest in that AI stuff. No, I will keep basically verifying and validating my personal identity using old methods. You don't need to sample my voice. Do not want it. Not gonna do it. Don't play that game with me, pal. Not interested." Pedro Beaver and jerking dog tails usually ends well. Yeah, usually the running joke I have with my dog is I refer to it as the handle that turns the doggy. It's like the dog is turned around. It's like "Eek." He's like, "Yay!" He turns around real fast. It's the dog handle. I'm not yanking it hard. We're playing, but yeah, it's kind of one of those things where they're like, "Hey, what's going on back there?" uh, so Intel, one of the world's largest semiconductor manufacturers, recently announced plans to cut 15,000 jobs, sending shockwaves through the industry. Move comes as the company struggles to regain its competitive edge in the chip market and streamline its operations. Similarly, network giant Cisco plans its intention to lay off 5,000 employees. Okay, that's 20,000 people right there, citing the need to reallocate resources toward emerging technologies and growth areas. Remember that part I told you about AI? Those 5,000 jobs are going to be the NVIDIA investments. It's going to be the secondary investments. It's going to be the AI. We need to have more AI than these guys. So it's right now, it's an AI war. And NVIDIA made scads of cash. Only problem is once everybody's got those, AI really hot rod boards and, all the chip setups and everything, do they need more? Well, I can say for a fact, looking at the way those things run, they are very, very power hungry. That's another thing that people don't really get into right now is also all this AI infrastructure thing. These things suck power like crazy, man. They're now talking about the need to build up. Oh yeah, we need all this renewable energy because we're going to be running all this AI stuff. Okay, one of these things is not like the other. If you're talking about wind and you're talking about solar, that doesn't equal more power. That equals a reallocation of power because you're shutting down the coal plants and you're saying we don't need more new power plants because those things are completely. Well, if you're relying on renewables, quote unquote, if you're relying on renewables and stuff that doesn't always work because, oh, yeah, it might be nighttime or no wind, how are you going to have more power by doing this? Texas got their asses slapped bad in a wintertime where everything got really, really cold and they were counting on the renewable stuff to work and they froze their flipping butts off. Big time. Impact 11 extends beyond the tech giants. GoPro, known for the action cameras, announced a 50% reduction in workforce, highlighting the challenges faced by a company in specialized tech niches. These cuts reflect broader economic challenges and concerns, including high interest rates that are slowing down company investments and fears of impending economic showdown. Remember I was talking about like interest rates and the Fed? Yeah, money costs too much. It's not easy to get. The banks don't want to lend it out. Interesting. Very interesting, in fact. There's a picture I have posted up on my Facebook page 4 days ago. The guy's name is Matt Wallace. He has one of the blue checks on Twitter, formerly Twitter, now X, but he has one of the blue checks at Matt Wallace 888, and it's Holy S Hit. I thought people were just posting early pictures, but here you can see people speaking, and the DNC arena is mostly empty. We're witnessing the final months of the Democrat Party. Soon it won't exist anymore. Interesting. Very interesting. Coming in yahoo.com again. So the Supreme Court handed a win to Republicans Thursday by restoring a voting law in Arizona requiring proof of citizenship with state voter registration forms. So the restoration came in a 5-4 decision with liberals Sonia Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, and Ketanji Brown Jackson dissenting along with conservative Amy Coney Barrett. But the rest of the court's conservative justices handed the Republicans a win. So you got to be somebody who is a citizen in Arizona. for the federal. For the local, I think that's different, but for the federal, you got to be a citizen. Scrolly. I find this really hilarious. There was this one meme that's been floating around, and it's Oprah and Michelle Obama, and it's like rich people and this, that, and the other thing, and you have to disable the rich people and blah 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 blah. Never mind the fact that she's worth like $70 million and Oprah's worth like 1.2 or 1.3 billion, maybe more. Yeah. Watch out for those rich guys. Those rich guys are coming to get you. Yeah. But supposedly she railed against the wealthy as she wears an expensive pantsuit. From Fox News, former First Lady began her DNC speech on Tuesday, saying the last time she was in her hometown of Chicago was to memorialize her mother, the woman who, quote, showed me the meaning of hard work, humility, and decency. Well, you don't have that anymore, end quote, and, quote, set my moral compass high and showed me the power of my own voice. Oh, jeez. She and my father didn't aspire to be wealthy. In fact, there were suspicious folks who took more than they needed. Stand by on this one, folks. The hubris here is amazing. They understood it wasn't enough for their kids to thrive if everyone else around us was drowning, so my mother volunteered at the local school. All the while, she's wearing a black pantsuit jacket that's available for pre-order online from the New York fashion designer Monsi for $1,690, which she paired with a jacket and matching trousers, which are listing at $890. So everybody that rails on about the wealthy is going to be wearing, a couple $1,000s worth of clothing, right? Yeah. Right. Scrolly. This one I think is absolutely just a really, really awesome quote coming from Dan Bongino at D Bongino. And he said essentially about RFK Jr., when a lifelong Democrat from an iconic Democrat Party who tried to run as a Democrat and whose running mate was a Democrat warned you about the dangers of voting for a Democrat in this election, you should probably listen. Interesting. I found this to be really, really interesting, and I kind of think this is very, very good thinking on his part, and it's good strategy. It's just simply put, it's just good strategy. So, coming in from somebody who calls himself Code Monkey Z on X, RFK to stay on the ballot in states where his presence hurts Kamala, RFK to remove himself from ballots in states where his presence hurts Trump's. He's utilizing his campaign for maximum effort to help elect Trump. Smart. And I think it's kind of interesting that RFK has actually positioned himself to do these things. I think he's actually said there's no way in the world that we can actually physically just flat out afford, another 4 years of Biden-style policy because and I know it's not Biden running things right now. It's Obama, who's got his house in Washington, D.C., who's probably on the short phone list to go, I wouldn't recommend doing that. I would do this like this. In fact, I'll come down and I'll help you guys. You know what? I would love to see like the call list, and I would love to see the actual visitor list for who's attending, who's getting in contact in the White House in any way, shape, or form at any time of day. And those lists are public knowledge, believe it or not. I would like to know how many times he's actually getting a hold of somebody in the White House going, I wouldn't do it like that. I would do something different. It's not the way it should be done. I'll tell you what we should be doing. I'll come down there and help you with the policy. Yeah, that's literally what I think is going on. He's slipping in the back door and helping adjust things. Or even going through the back door. He might be going through the front. Well, he likes the back door. I got to keep this PG-13, but he's not shy about going in the back door. Let's leave it at that, okay? Jack Smith just got a big case of bend over and smile. Yeah, truthpress.com. Jack Smith surrenders. The special counsel will not seek expedited hearings in the Trump case. So like I said, truthpress.com. Special counsel Jack Smith reversed course in his quest to seek expedited hearings in his Washington, D.C. case against former President Donald Trump. Smith sought hearings to determine which actions Trump allegedly took so he could charge an election interference case against the president. The Supreme Court's July 1 decision that presidents enjoy partial immunity for their actions taken in office in an official capacity spurred Smith to alter his approach. Before Smith relented his latest push to expedite the increasingly shaky case, Judge Tanya Chutkan had planned to hold hearings in the fall to determine which of Trump's acts were official acts subject to prosecution. So, that determination will now occur after the election, if it occurs at all. Trump campaign spokesman Stephen Cheung issued a statement to Breitbart News reading, "The comrade Kamala Harris cooked Joe Biden witch hunts against President Trump have been imploded like they have failed, just like their failed campaign, and should be dismissed in the light of the Supreme Court historic decision on immunity and the vital jurisprudence. It is now abundantly clear to everyone that dangerously liberal Democrats like Kamala Harris weaponize the justice system against their chief political opponent in order to interfere in the election." So, interference election on Trump's part is exactly what they're doing on the Democrat side to try to usurp his run. The lies of liberal lawfare pursuit of President Trump have blown up spectacularly. President Trump's team will continue to fight and defeat the hoaxes at every turn. Only President Trump and J.D. Vance can save our Constitution and make America great again. So I think, obviously that's a little bit, kind of political speak in some regards, but essentially what he's saying there is, this lawfare game that they're trying to play and trying to say he had election interference will not work. And I want to see Jack Smith actually come on charges too, because he should not be doing what he's doing. Excuse me 1 second here. So Trump and Gutfield, I don't know if you really know the guy or not, but Gutfield is extremely popular online. So there's a conversation between news anchors Brett Baier, Martha McCallum, former President Donald Trump, that was abruptly cut off on Thursday night as the network cut off the beginning of the Greg Gutfeld late night show. So the former president called Gutfeld's cell phone Thor's hammer. That is blanking hilarious. So they cut me off on the first show, but can I continue here? And Gutfeld's like, yeah, sure, just keep it clean. So Trump was giving his response to Vice President Kamala Harris's Democrat National Convention speech when Baier McCallum told him they had to move the programming over to Gutfeld. That wasn't my fault, Donald Trump. He was still talking, by the way, Gutfeld joked at the beginning of the show. Moments later, Trump called the late night host and said, "Hi." Quote, "Mr. President, I'm live now. Say hello to my audience and don't say anything that'll get you in trouble," Gutfeld said to the cheers of the live audience. And he said, "At what point, what difference does that make?" Trump replied, "We're doing well. We're leading in the polls." The Republican nominee spoke for a few more seconds, commenting on the Democrats' nomination of Harris and saying President Joe Kaka can be forced out of the race in a coup. All right, Mr. P, I got to go. Gutfeld said for ending the call and returning to the show's scheduled programming. Oh, man, that's just hilarious. How much does it crack you up that he actually has Gutfeld's phone number to go, hey, hello? Yeah. This one, I cannot begin to tell how much this really... well, it makes me happy to hear that potentially some really bad jurisprudence that took place. Unfortunately, Ronald Reagan signed the thing, but the 1986 Gun Control Act, also known as the Volcker McClure Act, which stopped new production of machine guns. Stop, sound guy. Sound guy. Okay, I thought we were getting rid of that last one. That last one sucks. That last machine gun sound effect sucks. No. I'm going to need a palate cleanser here, okay? I need a palate cleanser. I'm going to fix this right now. That's right. Those 32 slugs came out in a second and a half. Yeah. Awesome. First use of a MAC-10 in any film, McHugh, 1973, I think it was. 73, 74, John Wayne. Yeah. Basically, it's a copy of Bullet, but, it's still fun. It has its moments. Anyway, so U.S. court, coming to truthpress.com, U.S. court delivers a major victory for a man who possessed a machine gun. So federal court ruled in favor of Kansas man Friday who possessed a machine gun, dismissing the defendant's charges and deeming them unconstitutional. Prosecutors charged the defendant Tamori Morgan with 2 counts of illegally possessing a machine gun. According to dark court documents, the law, USC 922, says it shall be unlawful for any person to transfer or possess a machine gun. Judge John Brooms, a Trump appointee, ruled the ban unconstitutional. So, scroll. Prosecutors charged Morgan with possessing an Anderson Manufacturing model AM-15 300 caliber machine gun along with a Glock switch, a device which enables a Glock to fire like an automatic weapon according to court documents. Broom said the government burden of proof was a historical analog to support the charges against Morgan. The Supreme Court previously ruled New York State Rifle and Pistol Station versus Bruin that the restrictions were constitutional if the U.S. history had a tradition of said regulation. Well, the U.S. never really had a tradition of regulating machine guns. No. New York requires individuals to show a special need to receive an unrestricted concealed carry license. Supreme Court ruled that publicly carrying a firearm in self-protection purposes has a long-standing historical tradition in America. Congress attempted to regulate the machine guns with the National Firearms Act of 1934 and prohibited possession of them in 1986. Well, that's not true. It prohibited the manufacture in 1986. 1934 required you have to have a tax stamp in which to buy, hold, and maintain ownership of a machine gun or a short barrel rifle, short barrel shotgun, a suppressor, and any other combination of those things. You need to have a $200 tax stamp issued by the BATF to state that you're going to have those items on your person. Prosecutors argued Tamori weapons are not covered under the Second Amendment. Brooms sharply disagreed, stating they were protected, quote, within the original meaning of the amendment, said the government failed to justify the law's application in this case. Now, in this case, however, this sets a precedent. Once you set a precedent, you then can apply other cases on it, adjuncting upon it, and get the Citrati and all the rest of that, Citrati or whatever it is, get that good stuff to knock out the legislation stating it is unconstitutional, which means, of course, SCOTUS has to then visit that in and go, oh, yeah, this is unconstitutional. It is done. So, potentially, in our lifetime, we could see the Second Amendment usurping all of this bad firearms legislation. Red flag laws going bye-bye. All kinds of people who have basically been screwed out of having a firearm simply because of some minor thing. Or that was a felony. No, you didn't do a victim, a crime basically asserting yourself on a victim. White collar criminals are basically hosed as felons. Yeah. They didn't do a violent crime on somebody. They just got charged with something that, well, the government didn't like. Yeah. Scrolly. Let's see if I see something else. Oh, I haven't heard about this one or not. This one is good. This one is really, really good. That's right. We're talking about
I'm Mr. Meeseeks. Look at me.
No, it's not Mr. Stop, Sal. It's not Mr. Meeseeks. So Fauci found himself with a bad case of Nile virus because a mosquito decided to take the bite and no. Is that the way a mosquito sounds, sound guy? No, sound guy. No, okay. He got a bad case of... It was not monkey feces.
I'm Mr. Meeseeks. Look. I'm Mr. Meeseeks.
Okay, it wasn't Monkey Pops and it wasn't Mr. Meeseeks. Stop that. So mosquito also starts with M. That's what he did. It's because it starts with M. Okay, so a mosquito took one for the team and bit Fauci. I'm sure the poor thing probably died of violent laugh. Just going. Well, anyway, he had the West Nile virus, gave it to Fauci. Fauci found himself under the weather and spent some time in the hospital and he's spending some time to recover. The funny thing about that one is, oh yeah, because it was West Nile virus, there is no
Claw shots.
Nope. So he found himself with a bad case of
The Chinese Communist COVID viral infection.
no. It was not. No. He got a bad case of sound guy. No, you don't get the chime. No. He had a bad case of West Nile. What? I don't know where he's going with this one, folks. I really, truly don't. Supposedly CNN is losing it completely because, RFK Jr.'s endorsement of Trump. I cannot do it justice. It's bloody damn hilarious. And I got to tell you, some of the memes I've been seeing that's like pro Kamala, they're they're really bad because the left can't meme. I'm sorry, they can't. So supposedly also, there's now a super spreader event. COVID infections run rampant after the DNC convention. So apparently somebody did sound guy. No. Okay, so they went to there and they said, I have a slight problem with
The Chinese Communist COVID viral infection.
Yes, you did. You had a problem with the
Claw shots.
No.
Fact check. The Chinese Communist COVID.
Sound guy. Stop. Just stop. So anyway, they basically attended the convention and they got himself a bad case of Okay, folks, he's going off the rails here. I have no clue. No, you do not get a ding for that mess. That was no, that was not no. That was just yeah, that was just bad, okay? Stop. No ding. No dings. That's not ding worthy. Some of the memes I've been seeing, they're absolutely hilarious, but supposedly this one is driving them absolutely nuts that people are now saying and associating her with a Nazi slogan called strength through joy. But supposedly that was out there, the Nazis were utilizing it, and they are absolutely freaking out, so much so that even Snopes is like, Harris is not campaigning with the Nazi slogan strength through joy. She just has it. She's not. No. Man, they are crapping kittens if Snope is trying to stop this. That's all I got to tell you on that one, folks. That is just beyond hilarious to even consider that they are so losing their cookies in that one. I cannot do it justice. That just completely, well, it truly just cracks me up, okay? These guys are just losing their stuff. Oh, tunage. All right, folks, I'm going to break over this one. Ego kept centering as always, you know what, you love it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on a Tuesday. You got many other things to do, but just decided to hang out with me. I truly appreciate your kind attentions. I will catch you guys next week. Good stuff like that there. Now I've had another week of rest and recovery, and ooh, that was a busy weekend, man. I got to tell you what. Wow. Anyway, I'll catch you guys next time. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I will see you then. Have a good week. See you guys later and good stuff like that there. See you then. Raiders!